Was it Colonel Mustard in the kitchen with the candlestick? Was it Maria in the bathroom with the syringe? Or has it been Noah, Mr. Perfect, the whole time? We find out today. As we know, the grass is always greener on the other side, unless that grass is green because it's Graham. Oh my gosh, it's a mind F all day today as we talk season 1, episode 11 of Roswell, New Mexico. Champagne Supernova is in the sky. Let's discuss that after show here at Afterbuzz right now.
You're tuned in to Afterbuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
In true fashion, we get so much storyline in one episode of Roswell, New Mexico right now. I have to say, man, I need a season 2 at this point because I need a season 2 just to explain how season 1 progressed. That's how it works.
I need a season 2 to continue the hype because I'm still on the edge of my chair from the episode.
I am. It was suspense filled. I had a great time.
Me too. We had 2 suspect killers in one episode, and then to find out neither of them did it.
2. It was like 14. At one point, I was like, it's the dad. I was just like, Maria, it's Liz's dad.
I need 3 seasons to just figure out tonight's episode.
Tonight's episode was a magnificent one as we are talking all things tonight. Roswell, New Mexico, Champagne Supernova, episode 11, season 1 of this CW show that is doing everything it's supposed to do as we progress into this episode of suspense. As we find out who the 4th alien is. We are going to be talking about Noah. Noah, as he parted those Red Seas. We're going to discuss Isabel's trust, Maria's setup, Liz saves the day, Michael and Max speak, not talk. Cam is my jam. Citizenship, is that on the horizon? Who You, our special game where we pick out a scene that relates directly to us, especially everyone at home. And of course, we're going to have some predictions, but have our predictions been right or wrong this whole time? You decide as we talk all things Roswell, New Mexico. And of course, I am joined by an amazing panel all the way to the far left.
It's a sermon-speaking son of a preacher man, Mr. George Khouri.
Mr. George Khouri is in the building himself. Hopefully we will catch a sermon tonight as we move on.
Blessings to all.
To an angel of angels in Zuri. Hi, Zuri. How are you?
Hi, Tehran. I'm Zuri Chellece.
And of course, we have the skeptics of skeptics in the building of all, who's a critic of all critics. Jim is here.
Champagne Supernova, I'm drinking some water to that.
It's the water that we're toasting to the sky. I will be your host. My name is Tehran. And as we begin this episode, I want to know everyone's overall thoughts. Jim?
Confusing, but at least there's a payoff. Finally, we get a reveal that we've been kind of waiting to see who the 4th alien is. So satisfactory that we finally know who we can pin it onto. But the route they took there, I'm still trying to figure things out. My mind's fried because there's so many unnecessary steps they took to get there.
Zuri.
I think that they really sped this episode up. I saw a lot of action every second of the show. Also, there may be a 5th alien because why would Noah kill 14 people?
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in the storyline and in predictions. George, how did you feel about this show?
Today's episode was a roller coaster. I'm screaming and I don't want to get off.
You don't want to get off? Actually, this episode, I will agree with George, is that I didn't want this episode to end. It was actually one of the possibly the best episode, and each week every episode gets better and better. I am going to go out on a limb and say that CW keeps giving more and more freedom to the writers. As I've seen, the writing has gotten much better. It's more, it has a lot more bounce to it. There's a lot more depth to each character. I'm finding out new things and layers that in an enjoyable way. And even though Jim felt like the steps were unnecessary, I enjoyed each and every one of the unnecessary steps. I found a suspense. And now, while when we talk about predictions, I predicted that Noah was going to be the 4th alien a couple episodes ago because just because he was so perfect, I was like, this guy's got to be a psycho.
Tehran, you called it all along. I thought it was Maine's. I thought it was Maria's mom, and Noah was the last person that I suspected
because they portrayed it, and it even threw me off the scent when he got shot in the episode episode in the lab. That threw me off. I don't know. Did you know, Jim, that it was going to be Noah, or were you totally unprepared for that reveal?
That was pretty surprising to me. Although it makes sense now looking back at it because he was perfect. Like every week we were talking about Noah, like step up, do something about it. He would just always not only take the high road, but he would not show any. He would not show his cards in a lot of ways, and we just always thought he was too perfect. There's something got to be to him, but that way too, it kind of made you forget about him and didn't think that he would be the one.
Exactly.
Because we saw so many different things happen with different characters, so you would think like, oh, maybe it's this, or even the father tonight. You know, like I thought it could have been the father at some point. But they held this mystery kind of nicely covered up until tonight.
I felt like Noah's the Kaiser Soze of the Roswell, New Mexico.
Yes.
When they played the flashbacks and everything, because they did the same thing with Maria and threw the sin off. But when they did it with Noah, a lot of things came and became clear and clarity, and it was like an epiphany, and it was like, the moment of awe. Zuri, who in this episode did you think was the most likely killer before the reveal?
I was sold on Maria. It looked good. It all looked good. Even when she stole the syringe, it was like, she definitely did it. It's over. She's going to go kill someone. But I honestly thought Noah would get written off after he found out that Isabel was an alien. So I was still wondering. I guess that should have gave me a clue. Like, why is this guy still here? His wife's an alien, and he's taking it really well.
He's taking it a little too well, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I would find out. George, what would you do if you were dating someone or married to someone and found out that they were an alien?
I would ask him to take me to outer space.
That's what you...
Yeah, I've always wanted to go. It'd be a great time to go, and I'd rather go there in one of their little spaceships or UFOs than some NASA stuff that I wouldn't understand.
So you wouldn't be concerned at all?
I would be totally engulfed in what's happening and impressed and enamored.
Coincidentally, you remind me a lot of Noah. Now that we're talking about it, let's talk things about Noah. Let's discuss the Noah storyline. Yeah. The story of Noah unveiled itself. I would say it unfolded, but it didn't. It was released to us as information because we were not getting to that conclusion on our own. I made it as a prediction 4 episodes ago, as a prediction. However, as it was being laid out, I don't feel that was the path we were going with. We had 2 other killers, and Maria was the one who was being sold the most. When it comes to as the reveal itself, now what are your feelings about Noah as a character?
I feel lied to, and I'm hurt. I really thought
you were deceived, George.
I was deceived. Noah represented the redemption of the chaos of the town in Roswell. He was the only character who appeared to come without any malintent or harm or controversy. He wasn't involved in all these murders at points during the season. Although we love the aliens, sometimes we turned against the aliens because we suspected that they may have been the murderers. And then the other characters were back and forth on which side they were on. Noah was a consistency, and I feel broken. I feel like my base, my foundation, my pillar of the show was just stripped away from me, and I crumbled. And I love the writers for that. It's incredible writing.
Yeah, it was great writing this episode. I felt like we got a lot out of this episode. What was your take on the Noah character after the fact, Zuri?
I'm really excited because we were really stumped on who the next alien could be. What are the leads? Like, they're kind of pulling things out of thin air here. So now Noah gives us a new gateway to who the alien is, how they got here, what's going on.
Jim.
He's got a purpose. He's got a purpose now.
So
he's not
you
the
felt
guy.
like he was pointless before.
Well, he was just the husband, right? That was kind of lingering. He wasn't involved in anything. Like, she always shunned him in so many situations. So he was just always there, but not really with a purpose. Everyone on this show has a purpose, defined character. They have something going on. He didn't really. He was just there kind of being, in a sense, deceived or lied to by his wife. And now he's a main character.
Well, before
He's a
we
main
had
character.
sympathy for Noah. We were always like
Yes.
on the Noah train. He was being deceived. He was the one being lied to. That's not fair to him.
He wasn't relevant enough to the point. We liked him because he portrayed whatever we saw of him was like, yeah, good guy, supportive. But there's so many characters on this show that you invest more in and care more about because there's more storylines involved in. And he just had one kind of arc with him. Now he is like the center of everything what's going on. Everyone's character revolves now around him, at least for the time being, because he's that mysterious part that we're waiting to figure out, and everyone's affected by him.
I feel like we need a more of a Noah Isabel storyline. We haven't gotten really the
Like how they
backstory to
met
it. How they met, where they
Yeah,
met.
true.
Obviously,
Backstory.
they must have known each other a long time because Noah's involvement with Rosa was revealed to us tonight as well, where Noah has been in love with Rosa.
I like that you brought that up, Tehran. And in many scenes throughout the season so far, when we do see Isabel and Noah, there are other people around most of the time. So it would be nice to see their dynamic just solo and what's happening behind the scenes.
I just like to know what we need to know how they met, because now it seems very calculated on Noah's part.
What about his history with Rosa? We need to know the backstory there. How they,
100%.
what kind of relationship they had? How involved were they? Was he the guy that she was kind of talking about a lot of ways? You know.
And was there a fourth egg that mysteriously disappeared?
Well, here's the thing about Noah clearly has a level of immorality which we've seen portrayed. He's not against murder, he's not against deception, he's not against lying, he's not against manipulating people, and he has this power to control others. Why not control Rosa to just be with him? Why not just outrightly control Rosa? Isabel makes a good point where she says, I cannot make anyone do something they actually don't want to do. So, how does that work?
I honestly have no idea, and I think it would be great to see an answer to that. Zuri, do you have an idea? You seem to have the answers.
No, I don't have the answers, but I have the question that Maria pretty much knew everything about Rosa. Why didn't she know about Noah? Or like, was he a secret admirer?
Good question.
Or, and even then, like, so if he were to get back at Isabel for liking Rosa, why did he end up with Isabel? Like, wouldn't you just
Well,
kind
there's
of
so
be
much
done
to
with it?
fill in.
Yeah.
Now. We have so many gaps about the Noah's character arc, right? Because he goes back now. He goes back way further than we ever expected him
Because they
to.
had to have known each other in high school because
Right.
he's the direct point of contact when it comes to Rosa's murder. It's specifically the control of Noah. So that at least we know they go back 10 years plus.
Yeah, and did he interact with Rosa's dad?
Why would that be a question?
That would be a question because, well, what happened to Valenti?
Oh, well, you mean like Kyle's dad?
Exactly.
When he took care of Rosa and stuff?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
what
there's
was-
a deeper...
What was involvement there?
You think Noah could have taken
Yeah,
out
I'm
his dad?
starting to think that.
So now everything is blamed on Noah.
I
Now
think
we're
so.
blaming
I
Noah
think
for
I'm
everything. I mean, we
scapegoating
do have to
Noah.
blame Noah for Wyatt. I mean, Wyatt, who is a racist sack of stupid, clearly was under the control of Noah. And Noah can forcefully make people do things that they don't want to do, as we saw at the end of the episode as he was controlling Liz's body right before, of course, he lost his powers. Thankfully, Liz saves the day
Yeah.
on multiple occasions. So Noah's the one. Noah's the evil alien in this situation.
I'm still in shock.
Wow, you really look like
It's a lot for me to take in.
It was a lot. It was a lot for a reveal. It was a great, excellent reveal. It was done masterfully. Let's set up how it was done. So let's look into the concept of throwing the scent off Noah, and then Isabel going in to Noah's brain. Noah, of course, coming out and having to reveal the truth regarding Rosa, and coming out and being in control at the end. I mean, this is clearly a sociopathic, psychopathic alien.
Was he resisting Isabel for a little bit when she was mind tapping? Was there a wall because he wasn't? He was avoiding to answer her question directly, but in the end, although he's shown as powerful, it seems like he broke a little bit. So Isabel's power almost got through to him, and then he kind of just owned his evilness.
Well, he makes a mention of that when he specifically says, "In here, you're in control, but out there, I'm in
Yeah,
control."
he did say
exactly. Great.
So while
great
he
pickup,
wasn't,
Tehran.
he wasn't resisting Isabel. Isabel's just not as honestly as conniving and manipulative as Noah is, even with her powers. Even
Wow.
the concept, and we will get into Isabel next, 100%, because that is a strong storyline of the episode tonight. But Isabel makes mention where she basically cannot make you do something you don't want to do. She just basically suggests or gives the
See,
advice
and I
to
felt
make
like
you.
she was just throwing it out there, like kind of just sarcastically to people, but maybe she's telling the truth.
No, she probably is. Yeah.
I feel like
I
she's
always
telling
thought she was sarcastically rubbing it in like people's faces, but nah, I think she's being
Yeah,
honest.
Isabel's actually a very honest character while we find out that her partner in Noah, and that's something that we're going to have as a reveal too, is how did that relationship get to be? But a relationship I'd love to talk to you about right now is the relationship that each and every one of you has with us and vice versa. We want to thank each and every one of you at home for watching our shows, being a part of the after show, and to be honest, you're very much a part of the after show panel.
That's right. So thank you for making us the ESPN of TV talk. So make sure when you are watching our show, you subscribe to the show, comment. We love to hear theories. You guys have a lot of great theories, always different comments, different insights that we sometimes might even overlook, makes us think twice about it. So definitely keep on continuing with the comments. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, make sure to give us a 5-star rating and comment on there too.
We appreciate it. And we do respond to each and every comment, or as much as possible, and you give us a lot of invaluable insight, especially when comparing Roswell, New Mexico to the original Roswell show. We enjoy many of you as you comment. Thank you so much. Steph Sabra in the booth, if you have any shout outs to give to comments, we always have Steph Sabra's support, so we appreciate her as well. Tell your friends, spread the word. Let them know we here at AfterBuzz do a variety of after shows, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Share and subscribe. So, Steph, if you can later in the show give us some shout outs from people who have commented. We definitely have some repeat customers who love giving thoughts, and I read their
They're
comments.
good ones too.
They're
A lot of
great
times,
ones.
like they get the nitty details that I overlook at least.
We overlooked Isabel in this episode. And let's talk a little bit about Isabel, her trust with Noah, her refusal to believe that it's her husband, and all things Isabel throughout this episode of Champagne Supernova. Zuri, how would you feel if this was your husband who had betrayed you in such a manner?
I would feel betrayed. I would feel, I don't know, but I feel like I would have sided with Max when he said that Noah's the killer, just because that's her brother and they have this like super intellectual thing. He wouldn't want to lead her astray. So I feel like she should have listened to Max. Although this is her husband that she loves, he hasn't proven himself to that point to be an alien.
So you're choosing your brother over your husband every single time?
Not every single time, but given their connection, like they basically have telepathy. Like, so I would have taken that. And he doesn't want, like I said, he doesn't have a reason to not like Noah.
But it's very hard to think that the person that you've spent the better part of at least 5 years together, and who knows how much longer with the courtship and all of that, a person who's a very trusted member of the community, a lawyer, an outstanding citizen, someone who's been there for you, someone who you feel like you've put through so much, who's never, ever one time portrayed anything, even showed confusion over the nail polish every step of the way through the send-off. It's very hard to believe that. I don't know. Have you ever been betrayed in this way, George?
I sure have.
Oh wow,
So
really?
it's like,
Was it an alien too?
there's some open wounds happening,
Wow.
you know? And when I was betrayed, it may have had to do with my girlfriend and twin brothers, but that's beyond the point.
Wow.
The point is,
More dramatic than
I,
Isabel.
I did see Isabel. I thought I interpreted it a little differently. She met Max with resistance, but eventually she did go ahead and do the mind read. So I kind of
That's true.
saw
She
it
did
as
actually go ahead and do the. She said
she
he made me
ultimately
promise
picked Max.
today.
And what was interesting is it reminded me of the scene with we had Liz and we had Cameron, and she was saying, "Whoa, you're picking Max over your sister," and it was almost like, "Wow, I'm the one in love with Max, and all this time I've been picking my sister over Max. Wow, you're a real one for doing this." And then we see Isabel now in the same situation again. The writer's parallelism is always always great on the show.
Well, it hasn't always been great. That's actually a thing I'm going to disagree with. It hasn't always been great. It's just been way more useful and amazing as the show progresses in the later episodes. In the beginning, we were very confused and frustrated with the way the writers would force feed us things. Well, most of us on this
I
panel,
still am.
yeah, but that's the concept. It's gotten
look,
better. Let's be very frank. It has gotten
Yeah, it's not been
significantly better.
seamless.
It has gotten better, but
Period.
But I believe if you look at this show and you look at it as a season and not just individual shows, reflecting on this season, I do enjoy the fact now that the whole Rosa thing was dragged out, because the more that it was dragged out, the less I suspected Noah.
True.
The more there was attention on other people, it built to this moment, and I was slapped in the face today, and boy, I liked it.
But now
You
what?
seem like you'd be the type, George.
Now what though? We get the payoff in a sense that we've been waiting for.
Well-
Now they need to keep it going in a lot of ways. And when you talk about Isabel, I think it gave her character a perspective, because she's been doing things to Noah in a sense and being, not telling him the truth, in some ways lying to him and all this. And now he does it 10 times worse to her. So now maybe she understands in a way what she's done to him, but now also saying like, hey, I did things to him, but what he did to me is so much more vindictive and worse. And this, you talk about secrets, hiding secrets. Man, he held a secret from her.
I don't want Jim. I don't want to be turning evil now. I don't want to be defending Noah. But imagine now what I'm realizing is all along, Noah probably knew
She was lying to him.
she was lying.
Yep.
So let's say, like Tehran mentioned, 5 years or even longer, he had to sit silently through that. Like you're
So
lying to me.
he had someone
It
who
built
was
up. The pain
Zuri, you
built
look like
up.
you're about to. Please shed some light.
No, I just can't believe it. Even with the nail polish bottles, like you mentioned, when he saw them in the egg, like I'm just really trying to go back now to all the dramatic moments that we've seen of Noah. Though there've been very few, like I'm trying to go back to see were there any signs, but he didn't like look at the egg and be like, oh my God, that's where I came from too. The nail polish bottles, there was just no signs.
Yeah.
There were
Poker
really
face.
no
Poker
signs.
face at its
100%.
And you
finest.
know what? To be able to play that role of Poker Face, Noah's acting, the range he's shown, the genuine concern earlier in the episode, so now being evil and conniving, yo, he's in his bag with the
For
acting.
years, George, it's not only just a recent thing. He knew all along all these things, and he was just acting as if he's clueless or not even touching. He didn't even literally do anything to unravel it, right? He didn't even poke the bear in a sense at all. He just let it happen on its own. The patience that he had with his
Gosh.
plan, man, that's some deep
So,
stuff.
are we respecting Noah's conniving
Look,
manipulation?
I'm not
or-
respecting what he did, but if it was the streets, I'd respect his gangster. Like, Noah is the gangster of all aliens. He's the gangster.
Yeah,
But
he-
I
now
thought
we
Isabel
want
was
to
the
know
gangster.
more about Noah. When it comes to Isabel, let's discuss an Isabel-ism. When she specifically, her and Liz had a confrontation, and it wasn't a confrontation, it was more of a solicitation, but whatever, where Liz makes an observation and she kind of tries to blame Isabel, and Isabel throws it right back on Liz and says, I can't make you do something that you couldn't do, you want to run away. And whatever it is, at least you should know this. I don't care if you want Max to know, but at least you should know this about yourself. How did you feel about that?
I felt, the episode started out with this teamwork spirit. People, unlikely characters all sitting together, working together.
Yeah.
I thought that was her own way of extending the olive branch to what was foreseen as her enemy for many episodes. The Liz and Isabel thing. And I felt by her saying that, she was almost welcoming her into the alien family and saying, you know what, all along you thought this, but really that's what you wanted to do. And I thought it was sarcasm, but when I saw what happened later in the episode, I was like, wow, that was a real moment. That was sincere.
I think it's just another way of us finding out who Liz really is through other characters, like reading her, like how Max continues to like break her down. Not actually break her down.
But just
like,
break down her character.
Yeah.
This is because sometimes we need that in our lives.
Yeah, and Liz isn't going to give it to us as she's shown, like episodes 1 through like 4. She wasn't going to tell us who she was. So I don't think that Isabel did it out of kindness. I didn't think she did it out of like, girl, you need to get a grip. This is who you really are.
Wow, that's so real. Let's talk some things about Liz before we break her down as wow, Liz, you need to get it together. She got it together a lot as she saved the day on multiple occasions. She was the one who broke Michael and Max out. She figured out where they were and broke them out. Second, of course, she's the one who planted the syringe when it came to Maria. She planted the fake syringe and set up Maria just to get that reveal. Thirdly, she was the one who had the real syringe and injected Noah so he would lose his power because he's extremely powerful. And lastly, that dress was everything. So let's find out. Phew, okay, Liz, I see you. So how are your thoughts on Liz in this episode? Jim, you've been an on and off fan.
Yeah, I mean, I was a fan of the wardrobe. Here's the thing about Liz. Does she have psychic powers? Because she's so ahead of the game in so many ways, it makes you think it's almost impossible. The way she, not only, I mean, she's figuring out on the fly all these things, and like, how would she know that, hey, I need to switch the syringes? Like, is she either this skeptical? That's the thing we got to ask. Is she that skeptical of everything that she pre-plans 2 scenarios for everything? Or is she some kind of psychic that she just knows in advance when to jump on things before?
Or there's a third option. She's actually a very smart, intelligent woman. And here's that third option that comes to play is it's not just being a scientist. She's a clever girl. And we've seen that constantly through her investigation with Rosa. They set that characteristic up. She was able to figure out, to deduce that they were aliens. I mean, she figured out the handprint. She figured out the stuff about the autopsy. I mean, Liz has shown a propensity to be clever and a couple steps ahead in almost every single situation, except when it comes to herself. Zuri.
I really liked Liz this episode. She doesn't hesitate. She doesn't second guess herself. Like, oh my gosh, I need to test the champagne. I need to look at Noah's blood. Like, she doesn't think twice. And I think that she saves them by not thinking twice often.
But you know something Liz didn't do is communicate. She didn't say, hey, I think they're in this bunker. I'm not going to go by myself because there's a killer on the loose who can control people.
Exactly.
So maybe I should tell a couple people and let them in on the secret. Now, and here's another thing that I want to mention before we go on, is how well every woman in the show runs in heels. Can we talk about that?
Oh, that's a good one.
That was so strong.
That's a good one.
We saw Cam running heels. We saw Liz running heels. We saw Isabel running heels.
Observations,
Like, they
right?
definitely ran in heels like, yo, we rocking stilettos, ho. So let's get that. George, what were your Liz thoughts?
This is hard for me to talk about because I've defended Liz. And it's so interesting that now all of a sudden y'all are on the Liz wagon. I've been the strongest advocate of Limex this whole season. I didn't like Liz this episode. In the first episode, I didn't like her. First of all, when she took a jab at Max's dancing, and I told y'all earlier this season, I think she kind of left him because he couldn't dance well, and she brought it up. Have you learned how to waltz yet? Like, first of all, and then later in the episode, I just felt like she was a little all over the place. Like,
well, she's always like that. That's what I mean. It's like almost she's like Superman in so many like she. Like I said, I get she's smart and she's established from the start that she's clever. She figures things out, but to the point where she's almost outrunning the writer's purpose in a lot of sense. So it's like she's already at the house. She's already at the lab and checking his.
Yeah, but she's
just
using the
too
scientific method for everything, and that's who she is. She uses the scientific method.
But she's not she's
a scientist. She is.
No, she is a scientist, but the thing is how quick she gets to it. It's like, it's literally the even the way the scenes are shot. It's like, where's Liz? Oh, she's in the lab already doing this. Next thing, oh, she already switched it over. We don't even see signs of. Maybe it's the writing part too.
Roswell's a small town. Let's remember, Roswell's a town. You get around pretty quick. Yeah. I was also. She does get around and get the things. We have to have some bit of suspension of disbelief when it comes to
around.
She figures everything.
She's also not trying to protect her siblings, so she may not have that emotional tie. So while you three are thinking about, how to save each other, someone else is already thinking like, what exactly is going on here and how do we figure this out?
Well, we always knew she was in for herself in a lot of ways, more so than everyone else. Like, she's in for Rosa and figuring that out. It's like she has a lot of, in a sense, there's not one thing that she's focused on like some of the other characters
She's detached.
are. Yeah, she's detached.
A little
in
bit.
good
She's
way.
she's more logical than Max for sure. That's like
she
given.
has logical approaches in the scientific method. I'll agree with Tehran there, just as I agree with the dress. Wardrobe killed it on that. It was just a perfect match. That's the one thing I really liked was her dress on her this episode, the way she wore it. And I saw
What about the lipstick? I mean, that was noticeable too.
That was a thing. That was a point.
thing.
And that's part of her character to have a wall.
Right.
And everyone brought that up.
I thought she was in her essence as an actor on screen today for sure. But I felt she was all over the place, specifically emotionally. And the part where, again, strongest advocate of Limex, but when she's talking to him, if I run away again, I want you to chase. Give this guy some sort of a final commitment at this point. Y'all been through everything together. Like, he's resurrected you from life, okay? Like, from death, sorry.
Sure.
He's literally brought you alive again. He's, like, went against his own alien family. People have died. Y'all are fighting together. Please just be like, yo, like, I want you to wipe me up, or I want you to be my husband.
Sure, but she
At
owes
this
him
point.
nothing. Let's remember that.
But here's
no obligations in that. There's Max has done everything on his own accord. So he's doing it all on his own because this is what he wants. So ultimate goal, Liz owns nothing except to Liz. And I want that to be a thing in any relationship, whether it goes female to male, male or female. It's all about
But
what
she's
you
saying
personally
how much she loves him.
Yeah, did she say she's crazy about him? Did you buy that, George?
But
Did you buy that?
she tell him? That's the communication that we're going to get into. Yeah. Let's communicate what our thoughts were on Maria and Maria's setup. Did you guys buy Maria as a killer?
No. It was stupid. That's a dumb part of the show. They used her as a pawn in a lot of ways to set up the storyline, and I thought it was pointless because what have we seen from Maria to immediately like flip of a switch right away? She's like, oh, she's the one. Like, it was within like 5 minutes of the show time, run time. Like, she becomes this like villain and suddenly, like, there's no setup with Maria to even dictate that. It was just so cheaply done, I thought, and she was used as a pawn. Her character was used as a pawn to further a story, and then suddenly like, oh no, she's good. No, we checked out. She's all good. She was manipulated. It was just dumb. I didn't like that part.
Jim, thanks for inadvertently insulting me because I bit the bait. I 1,000%, and Zuri's here on my side. Yeah. I 1,000% was convinced it was Maria at one point. All along, I thought alien number 4 was Maine's or Maria's mom, right?
Mm-hmm. So you said Maria's mom. That was the one.
So I was thinking, oh snap! If I thought her mom was the alien, what makes me think she don't have the powers? She's the fourth alien. All the psychic
she's a
ability.
Psychic, exactly, and she's
I was convinced, Jim, and I thought it was actually good writing there. If there was someone to really make me think the other way, it would have been Maria.
And when they showed those scenes, I want to know, everyone at home, what did you think? Did you buy Maria as the killer, even if it was for a second of a second? I want to know. Let's take a poll. Did you think Maria could have been the killer? Because I thought that setup was done very well, Zuri.
And when she put that bomb in Michael's jacket, that made his like little house explode. That was something. And then it's always a best friend who kills another best friend, just out of envy of something. Yeah. So I bought it. Sorry, Jim. Maybe you're ahead of me.
I thought it was great. I thought it was great. But that's the whole point of the after show is have differing opinions. I want to know everyone's opinion on the concept of Michael and Max actually having this open talk where it's even discerned they talk, not speak, and they kind of have this bonding moment when they're locked into the shelter, Michael's shelter with all this alien laboratory stuff. What were your thoughts on that? What were the highlights that you felt stood out in your mind?
Michael got some long overdue appreciation. And I'm so glad it happened. The brotherly bond that was shown there that never truly existed. And Tehran, as you mentioned, the talking and speaking line that came up, and the fact that they reached a point where they could share these details, and more importantly, Max could talk about the burden of guilt that we didn't know if he really had, because again, it wasn't communicated. We knew that he cared about him. We knew we wanted to protect him. But hearing him say he felt that guilt was a beautiful moment. And to the audiences, people who have siblings or close friends, I'm sure that resonated with many people watching. And it was a very emotional moment and real moment in the show.
Zuri, how did you feel watching that brotherly bond?
I think it was good. I think speaking with resonating with being just in life in general, I think a lot of times the older sibling has to take the reins and then they kind of get like, well, you told me to. It's like I'm doing the best that I can. And while you think my job is easy, it's really not. And we're both struggling. So I think that was like across the board. I think a lot of families could resonate to that.
Max is so out of touch. You really, I mean, you wouldn't have the intuition to know that your brother, the guy that you spend the most time with, aside from Isabel, is bisexual or not. Like, he was so, like, caught by surprise and in shock. Like, well, I thought you were gay. Like, for me, for all these years that they spent together, he would at least have an intuition. Maybe they didn't have that conversation or talk to know enough.
Well,
it just
I
seemed
don't
like
think
a
it
guy
was
that's
against brothers. I think that that's something that the show did a very great job of explaining. I'm bisexual, and it's that simple because a lot of straight males don't understand the concept of gayness, let alone bisexuality,
True.
in which we examine sexuality, especially in a straight male binary system in which it only has to do with women. So if someone's not straight, we immediately assume they're gay, and that's all there is. So to a lot of straight males, bisexuality is basically confusion or horniness. It's not a form of sexuality itself.
It's just the two wrong characters we're doing it. It should have been Michael and someone else, not Michael and Max, because they're too close to each other for them to have this kind of oblivious thing. I don't mind that conversation at all. I just thought the characters were the wrong ones in this situation.
But
Having this
are
conversation.
they close? I thought they are close on paper, but in their
Still,
communication.
it's intuition. And
Well,
just
we
it
did
being
find
around
out that Michael has possible resentment. We've seen it before in his passive-aggressive statements. He's possible resentment regarding him not being adopted, while Isabel and Max were by the same parents. And we know for a fact that Michael, through his story, has had a hard time with the people who have fostered him. So his foster parents were an extreme on every single, whether it's abusive physically or abusive mentally. And we also got to the heart of his abuse at the hands of Maines when he was caught with Alex. So we got a lot of it.
And when he said he didn't ask for a healing because he wanted to be reminded that there's not this goodness in humanity.
Yeah.
It was insightful in a way because the town has seen the aliens as the bad people. But hearing an alien speak from that perspective, it was an enlightened platform he was speaking from. And I saw Michael's goodness beam out of him.
It was a lot. It was a lot to take. It was a lot of interaction. We got a lot of depth of character. I feel like this plugged along the storyline. Let's go through some quick things that happened. Let's talk about how Cam is now my jam for having the date rape nail polish on. That's a thing, and I love how they brought that up on the show. They brought that up, and she tested it, and of course, Maria's drink was spiked. That's how we exonerated Maria. But that date rape nail polish.
That scene just confused me a little because if you're an alien with this power, why don't you use your mind? Why are you spiking people, bro? Like, use your mind or something.
That's actually, I mean, that's
a good point, George.
There was
It really
something
is.
about blackouts that came up where I think they have to be a little more, because if you remember, Isabel had a hard time getting into Maria's mind because there's some type of force that she has, which is a natural human force, with her in touch and her psychic powers. So even Isabel had a hard time. Maybe Noah had a hard time as well and had to drug Maria and plant it. But Zuri, how did you feel about that date rape nail polish? And were you even aware that such a thing existed?
No, I kind of just don't leave my drink anywhere, and I hope for the best.
Smart.
But I think that's a great idea, and hopefully that brings awareness to there actually being a date rape nail polish and their sales spike.
Yeah, I mean, I knew about the nail polish, and it was great that they gave it such a platform. And it's unfortunate that in this day and age that women even still have to go through something of that they ever had to go through in the first place. It's a constant reminder that when I, for example, leave the club, I just get to go to my car and go home. If a young lady leaves the club, they have to worry about getting attacked, raped, kidnapped before they even get to their car. And that's just a constant reminder. And I'm so glad this is something that the show brought to light. It does such a good thing about social awareness. Another thing they brought social awareness to is citizenship. Again, as we know, Roswell is in New Mexico. It's named New Mexico because it was a part of Mexico. So we have a lot of immigrants and immigrants with gray area status and dreamers in that area, and it's obviously a hot topic issue.
Yeah, we gotta give hats off, Tehran. I'm glad you brought this up. I didn't realize it till I heard you say it. I have 2 friends who were victims to getting their drinks roofied.
Wow.
I have a friend who's a DACA citizen. I also have a brother. This show alone, this episode alone,
What about your brother?
hit so many aspects of my life.
Because of the relationship with.
Yeah, and it's not even a rocky relationship, but just seeing that bond of brothers, it hit many spots with me, and I was like, wow, this show's just has an outreach beyond just entertainment. It
Jim,
has purpose.
Where do you stand on how they brought these topics to light?
I thought they covered a lot today. I mean, I didn't know about the nail polish thing. That was a really clever way of introducing it, and I thought informative to a lot of people out there. And yeah, they touch on a lot of.
What about the citizenship?
That was another one. That was with.
Too bad it's
Liz and
Noah.
her
Too bad it's with Noah.
Yeah, but I
know.
felt they really fittingly put these issues in the episode and didn't deter from anything. It fit in perfectly. That was the good part of the
it
show.
didn't
I felt
feel forced,
it wasn't
right?
the forced
At
or
all.
weird thing they did with, Maria. I call her Heather. That's the actor that plays her. But I thought they did a good job of kind of showing us and telling us and educating us in a lot of ways.
Citizenship is a concern. Zuri, did you also like it, find it informative how they bring these topics to light?
I found it informative and it was really seamless. I agree with Jim. It was just easy. It almost, because you're like, oh yeah, citizenship, 2019, but it's like almost could have gone over your head if you weren't paying attention.
The show's
because
been
we're still
progressive.
talking
It
about
has been from first episode.
Exactly, it is. And it's a great thing to bring to light. What did you guys think about the concept that Graham Greene is almost the exact same character and portrayed by the same actor as the prior Green, Grant Green?
I'm a little
I have no
lost on
words.
that one. Yeah,
No comment, no opinion.
A
really.
twin brother. It's fun. It was good. We needed that character. I felt like that character was a fan favorite. People like that character. Let's see if the second Green is as extroverted about aliens and alien sightings as the.
I do
as
miss
his
the
brother.
quirkiness.
So and hopefully we get that back. I felt like we had a tad bit of it.
It was a
this
nice
episode.
Comedic relief.
It was, and it was fun. So we hope to see a lot more Green. We hope to see a lot more Roswell, New Mexico. We're hoping for a season 2. Let's get into our game, Who You, the scene that relates to you or spoke to you the most in this episode. Zuri, please.
I think I was Michael, more so like having people pull information out and then come back and have to save the day to watch someone who's not feeling well. I feel like that was really vague, but I feel like it happens.
That happens. It happens.
Like, oh, I want so much more of you, but wait, can you do this? You're like, oh, I'm already exhausted.
You got to do one more.
Yeah.
Jim.
Besides confusion, I actually like the father-daughter dance. It kind of took me back to an old place of school dances and having these kind of close, intimate family or friend moments, where we kind of don't do these things anymore. It was an old school throwback to give you memories, even like middle school dances and high school stuff.
And it reminds you that UFO tourism is the big market of Roswell, New Mexico, including this diner that's the father's American dream and not Liz's. George.
Wow. Liz's lipstick. It was 4 a.m. I went to CVS. My lips are dry. And I experimented with a new chapstick, wore it to school the next day, not knowing that it was a tinted chapstick, and it was red, and I basically put lipstick on myself, and I got made fun of at school.
Legend.
I'm so sorry for making fun of you, George.
And Tehran was one of the main people.
I wasn't.
What do you
one
have
of the
to
main
say
person.
about that?
I have nothing
What
to
a
say.
story,
It
George.
wasn't the fact that you were wearing lipstick. It was the fact that you didn't know you were wearing lipstick. I would have to say that my Who You scene of this has to be Liz being a couple steps ahead and realizing things and figuring things out faster than other people on the show, and possibly not relaying or communicating that information, because I'm guilty of that sometimes myself, where I figure something out, I'd just rather just do it myself than just try to catch
Yeah, I
everyone up to
remember when
everyone.
we were stranded at the airport
So
and you
let's
got
talk
to
about
fly
the
out and I didn't.
predictions. Steph Sabra, can we talk about predictions?
And now, your AfterBuzz TV prediction.
Let's get one-line predictions and what you think is going to happen next. Obviously, we know that Noah is going to cover some bases in the rest of the alien story, but what do you think we're going to find out, George?
Someone has to die at this point, and I think it's going to be one of the main characters.
Interesting. Zuri.
There are more than 4 aliens.
That's a good one, too. Jim.
My boy comes back and ends the show on a cliffhanger.
I hope that happens. We didn't get any Kyle this episode.
There's a reason for this.
And I'm going to say that Noah fills in some gaps, but not all the gaps that we need. He knows way more information than he lets on, and he's the guy that keeps it secret. Steph Sabra, before we go, can you plug some of the frequent viewers, listeners, and comments? Yes, please.
Shout out first to people in the chat: Ivan Soto, Molly R, Lita Fan for Life, Billie Jean Girl, ZB, Lunatic Nation, ED, Orlando Williams, DC Fan 6767, and some of the main comments that I saw, Ivan Soto. So maybe Noah was an adult when he even first saw Rosa.
It's possible.
Be a good one.
ZB in the chat: I thought it could have been Tess, but I also suspected Noah. He was just too perfect when he found out Isabel in the pool. In the pod, Noah didn't react, not one bit. He
Not
was
one
calm
bit.
and collected.
You know, but I never thought it was Tess because Tess from the old show was always a positive character, and it's someone that I'm looking forward to finding out more about. Hopefully we get a season 2 and we get a Tess.
ED, I was just shocked how detached Michael and Max were from each other because I thought they would be closer, but now I get why, how little they actually talk to each other because of resentment.
And it happens a lot of times in brothers. Brothers are brothers. So if you have a brother out there, just keep them close because blood is thicker than water.
Talk to them.
Thank you guys so much for always commenting and being in the chat. We love to hear from each and every one of you. We especially like your comments, so please take the time and comment below, share and subscribe, and give us that 5-star rating that I feel that we definitely deserve. People, where can people find you if you want to be found, Mr. George Khouri?
At Mr. George Khouri, I got these Sunday services like Kanye. Check us out. Tehran, spell the last name.
That's Khouri. And of course, we have the angel known as Zuri, who might be the 4th alien of the 4th alien.
I'm Zuri Chellece. You can find me at ZuriChellece on all platforms.
And definitely make sure to like and comment on her pictures. And we go down to the Jim Alexander.
The Jim Alexander on social media, realtalker.com. That's REEL.
And he's on a variety of after shows here at AfterBuzz, so make sure to check him out. If you want to see more Jim, you know where to find him. And of course, I am Tehran, literally at I am Tehran, all across the board. That's IAMTEHRAN. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You know what? Yelp me if you must. I'm at the Laugh Factory every Monday and Thursday at 10 p.m. and a variety of after shows on AfterBuzz. Make sure to catch me on the Sabrina after show because that's going to be up next. Guys, it's always a pleasure. Till next week, same Roswell, New Mexico time, same Roswell, New Mexico channel. We will talk more after show here at AfterBuzz. See you later.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.